Welcome to Bridge Out Ahead, the podcast where we dive into what's under construction in life, business, and community. I'm your host, Bridger Hopkins, and today we're sitting down with Kyle and Amanda Lussier, the dynamic married duo behind the Pines restaurant, which is quickly becoming known for their from-scratch meals, their intentional hospitality, and the way they're redefining what a restaurant can be like in a small community. Before we get into it, though, if you could go ahead and give me a like, follow, or subscribe to this channel, it really means a lot to us, and it helps share our story with other people who think it's worth hearing. Now, let's get into it. Well, Kyle and Amanda, thanks for stopping by. We're really excited to hear about what you guys are up to. Just starting out, could you tell me a little bit about yourselves and what it is that you're doing right now?
I'm Amanda Lussier of the Pines Restaurant, co-owner and general manager. So I primarily focus on training our staff and make sure we have a really good guest experience for everyone that comes in.
Yeah, and I'm Kyle Lussier. I'm the executive chef and co-owner of the Pines Restaurant, and I handle all things food related as well as any sort of event planning and stylistic choices. I don't know, the all the things that make the Pines what it is, I guess. We collaborate on and bring to fruition.
Well, tell us a little bit about when you guys opened up. Your relatively new restaurant, for those who don't know, what is the Pines?
Yeah, so the Pines is, I'll say, kind of the first of its kind dining experience in northern Minnesota. We call ourselves fine dining, but not to, be stuffy or anything like that. It's a very hospitable place to be, but the goal is, fresh from scratch cooking. We partner with a local farm, so there's a lot of seasonal cooking, rotating dishes, just a high quality meal that up until this point is pretty few and far between in the northern part of the state. So that's kind of our goal, is to be the best restaurant in northern Minnesota.
So before you guys started the Pines, what did you do? What's your background in?
I've always been cooking pretty much. I've collected a few paychecks doing some odds and ends, but yeah, started at a restaurant called McDonald's when I was 15. So pretty much from there, it was like, I knew what it meant to be in a kitchen and that kind of workflow and the stresses and tensions, and just was used to it because I guess that's kind of all I did for a long time, and went to culinary school, and after that kind of learned about fine dining and the history of cuisine and that food could be art and the like, and pretty much from there I was like, all right, I'm going to be a chef. So from age 19 until now at 36, that's pretty much all I've done.
With that, I've heard people, especially in the the back of the house, it can be a little intense, or it's kind of adrenaline
for sure.
Based at times. Was that something that you got hooked on right away?
Yeah, I guess it just seemed natural. I don't know, kind of being in that environment was, I don't know, you get indoctrinated or something. I couldn't imagine having a desk job or, working in retail or something. So I guess it's just kind of, it grew in me, so to speak. What about you?
Yeah, art major. So I've always kind of worked some form of customer service, grocery stores, and then I got into arts administration, working in museums in my early 20s. And in between, I've always worked in restaurants, serving or bartending. And I realized pretty quickly when I was working in art museums that a desk job was not the right fit for me. And that's when I just got back into serving and bartending and started working in fine dining. And then eventually I got into working at breweries. So, long story. I was working at breweries, got really into the beer scene, and eventually I was brewing down in the cities. And when COVID hit, that's kind of when I was like, okay, I feel like I'm not in the right spot. I need a more customer-facing, guest-facing position, like more interactive. So that's kind of when we met, well, years before that, but kind of just began talking more about owning a restaurant and operating a restaurant. So
I like the, you were in the art and museum kind of thing, or art gallery, curating an experience is really a very much a thing that comes to mind. It's a presentation of art, of artifacts, those sorts of things. But I've never made that connection, I guess, about restaurants, but that really is what you're trying to do, especially in an elevated dining experiences. You're curating an experience for somebody.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and that's from, the flatware, plates, silverware, glassware, to the art you put on the wall, to the way you design the room. Yeah, it's very much about creating an environment that people want to be in, and ideally for 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah. And there's a lot of intention that goes into, okay, what are we trying to create here? Because when people say, well, I'm going to open up a restaurant, that means a lot of things. Because you're talking about McDonald's, or you're talking about a cafe, sports bar, to fine dining. So that's a huge category that you have to start narrowing down. And it can start with, the food, the menu, but then even getting down as nitty gritty as, like you said, the flatware, the glasses you want to use, the overall aesthetic.
Yeah, the music is a big part of, the Pine's identity. We're very particular about what's playing while you're in there. Because, that's kind of that, it's in the background, but it really does, you kind of notice it subconsciously, like, I like this. This has a good energy, and it's, might not be a song or whatever, but it very much is, like you said, part of the whole experience.
Because you can find yourself sitting there or somewhere and like at an unease or, being uncomfortable and not always knowing why.
Yep, exactly.
And then you realize, oh, this is terrible music.
Yeah. Yeah, and Amanda kind of touched on when we met, we both had been in the industry for years, so there's a lot of learning that happens, again, kind of subconsciously, where you're kind of like, maybe not at the moment thinking, if this was my place, I wouldn't do this, but then once you actually start to have the conversation of like, if I had a place, what are the like do's and don'ts? What do you like about a restaurant? So me and her shared a lot of tastes as far as like, we love it when a place does this, and we don't like it when they do that, so it was easy for us to like, make those choices based on, if it were my place. So then once we were on the precipice of it was our place, it was easy to kind of cut through the noise and have a pretty clear vision,
Yeah, it's always easier to say, okay, I don't like this. But then you're like, okay, and now what do you fill that void with?
Right.
Did you know right away what you wanted to make? Or how did that evolve over time? Or what did that process look like for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, lots of, we're married, so lots of just day-to-day conversations about like, hey, this is a cool idea, or, you watch some cooking shows and you say, oh, I like the way that guy plated that, or this, that, and the other. And then, like I said, kind of on the precipice of actually building it, once you like find a location, then you're like, cool, we have to work within this space. So how can we kind of check the boxes we want, So I always wanted a somewhat open kitchen.
Yep.
So once you find a spot, it's like, okay, how can we make an open kitchen work in here? Things like just, I mentioned the music, we had talked about that as a pretty quick conversation. Like, these are the styles of music we're going to play. And we're both like, yep, awesome. So then if we're out to eat somewhere and we're like, see, this is the kind of vibe, like these guys get it, or we get what they're doing, it's kind of that back and forth of selecting things. So yeah, I don't know. It's a continued process. It's still, I was looking at some plates today that I was like, hey, these are cool. So it never stops really trying to hone in on the best version of your vision,
Yeah, I will say with the open kitchen concept, like we talked about that like 8 years ago. Like I have drawings of us, like how are we going to work the pass and how our server's going to pick up and like leave the kitchen and all of that. So that stayed with us.
Yeah.
And when you go to that, starting fresh, talking about designing the flow of the space, both for guests and, like how do they get to the bathroom? Where is the bathroom?
Yeah.
But how do the servers move through the space? How does the food get out? How do plates and things go back in? Drinks, all of that. How did you guys figure that sort of stuff out? Because there are people that go to school for a long time to examine that stuff.
Yeah, it's again, still an ongoing process. We definitely designed it and we're like, cool, here it is. And then after 3 days, we're like, hey, this isn't working. We're going to move the POS down 4 feet. And some of those kind of things you can think and dream about it. And then kind of the actual application, you realize like, oh, okay, that whole thing that we spent hours discussing is kind of, kaput. That's not necessary, or it's too much, or it's not enough. So yeah, you just got to pivot and keep going. The restaurant industry never stops. So you don't kind of get a week and then like, okay, now let's brainstorm and figure it out. It's like you got an hour and then, you're back into it the next day. So yeah, I'd say it's, an ever evolving thing. But we're lucky in that we found a space that we really liked, which we thought could accomplish what we wanted to do. And then we worked with an architecture firm who, basically started putting together like the aesthetic, the color choices, as well as just all the code review stuff that you have to do. And that's, they don't teach you that in culinary school about, support structures on the ceiling because you're going to have guests upstairs, all that kind of stuff. So you kind of get handed that from people who actually know. And then we worked with a kitchen designer, just again, based on code stuff of you got to have hand sinks so many feet apart and blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of combining all that into one big pile of things you want, things that will function, and things that you have to do, you know? So yeah, you kind of just slot it in.
and trying to have them all flow together.
Yes. Yeah. So it was good. And I think, starting basically when we got to the architecture firm, we we're already like, this is the type of restaurant it's going to be. This is how many seats we want to have. This is the type of food it's going to be, So a lot of the stuff that people probably spend a lot more time on kind of spitballing and throwing ideas around, we already had a good 75 to 80% of it. Like, this is the vision, So then it was pretty easy to, like I said, kind of conform and pivot little things where you have to check boxes code-wise or, seating-wise. Just as an example, so our restaurant has 3 floors. We originally wanted, about 10 to 20 seats on the main floor and then like 40 to 60 upstairs. So it'd be one kind of big dining room. And of course, that's where the code thing happens, where they're like, oh, you can't split up your guest count by that much. Basically have to have equal counts on each floor. So then it's like, okay.
Interesting.
Well, yeah. So my kitchen shrunk quite a bit more than what I would have liked, but still have the open kitchen, still have just enough space. So yeah, that's just a good example of making it work,
And instances that you wouldn't necessarily think of when you're, doing your sketches, like, oh, wow, I never would have just thought like, oh, we can't split it up in that way.
Yeah.
We need to have it
some of those
even or equal.
Some of those curveball things and like same story, we have 3 floors. Everyone's like, as we're building it out, are you going to put an elevator in there? It's like, number one, an elevator was like $150,000. So no. And number 2, it would have ate up, 15% of our floor plan.
On every floor, it would impact it.
And then as you start to, do basically forecasting what your sales are going to be, if you say, okay, cool, if we have this many seats and the, average guest ticket is this much, cool, we'd make this much money in a month, and that's, we pay our bills and make some money and it's all good. So then if you cut 15 seats out of that equation, well, now you're going, well, we need that many seats to cover our costs, so it's
and subtract 150 grand up front.
So there's a lot of those kind of things where, like I said, you kind of don't know it until you're in there and thinking about it, and everything affects everything else. So it's a lot of juggling, I'd say. And that was just, the 2.5, 3 years leading up to even opening. That's not even running the restaurant. That's just creating one.
That's without people in there. That's just, well, and you touched a little bit on the restaurant economics. Are there any things that you can share with people that they might not think of when, like, a restaurant is, serving food, and they're, what are some of these things that you're looking at from day to day?
Yeah, I mean, kind of the big things are, similar to many businesses, I would think, is you have, your cost of goods, your labor, and your fixed costs, which, generally try to operate somewhere around 30% for those 3 categories, leaving you with ideally 10% profit. And that's kind of the old school restaurant formula. If you can hit those metrics, you're probably doing a good job. But they also say, if you want to make a small fortune in the restaurant industry, start with a large one. It's expensive, and again, things just constantly pop up that you need. I just had to go buy sidewalk salt today, and those are just little things that sort of chip away at those numbers I just laid out. So those are the things we pay attention to, just the broad categories, and you try and mitigate that and do what you can. Food is never a fixed cost. Things go up and down in price, and that's a big reason with me cooking seasonally. I've kind of made the joke, we're never going to serve asparagus in January. I mean, number one, it's out of season. Ethically, I don't believe in it. But number 2, it's really expensive in January because it doesn't grow then. So that's kind of my side of, smart chefing is trying to let Mother Nature guide what to cook, because generally the prices will kind of ebb and flow with that seasonality as well. So,
and it's interesting with, it being in sales, your goods can go bad.
yes. Yeah.
So
the bar side's pretty easy. Maybe you could talk about that. We still try to have our cocktail menus be seasonal and highlight, products that are in season. Like I mentioned, our farm partner, we try to utilize as much as her product as we can. But yeah, the liquor and wine is.
Yeah, you pay a lot up front, but then over time you start to make that back, I guess.
Yeah. Good margin on alcohol.
Yeah.
You buy it and it sits there and it's all fine and dandy.
Yeah, it's in season all year.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit too about, you've got the 3 floors at the Pines. What's going on in all of those. You've got meals, you've got bar service. What's that look like?
Yeah, so the main level, right when you walk in, that's where we have our big open kitchen. And it's a little bit louder, a little bit more livelier. You see a lot of the hustle and bustle from the staff going back and forth. It's kind of a tight area going towards the bathroom, but I think that makes it kind of fun for guests coming in to just like kind of be in the thick of things and see how it kind of functions in a restaurant.
There's a bar on the main floor.
There's a bar
too,
on the main floor that seats 5 walk-in guests.
Kind of hear cocktail shakers and ticket printers going off and all that. So it's kind of the happening spot.
Yeah. And then our second level, the gallery, is that's what we call it, the gallery. It's a little bit quieter, a little more private, overlooks downtown, big open windows. We're starting to fill up the space with paintings from local artists. Anything else about the gallery?
It's nice. It's quieter, nice high ceilings. We have guests that, if you want a little bit more of an intimate conversation, when you make a reservation, you can kind of choose which floor you want to sit on. And that's also, office food storage upstairs. And then, the basement is what we call the understory lounge. It's just a nice intimate cocktail lounge. Sits about 22 people. Big bar, big beautiful bar, and some really comfortable, kind of lounge style chairs, couches, that kind of vibe. And we have a lot of people that come early for their reservation to start with a drink down there, or we have a lot of people that finish their meal and go downstairs to have a drink to conclude their evening. So, yeah.
And from a business standpoint, that's kind of nice too, as if there's some of that differentiation, it's almost like making 2 stops for guests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can have your dinner and a cocktail, and it feels like a change of setting without ever leaving your business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and in that kind of planning stage, we had always, incorporated that concept, number one, based on the buildings we were looking at to put the restaurant in. They had basements and thought it would be cool. But it also kind of functions as, a waiting room. We have a pretty small footprint, really. So when you walk in the door, if you're, hey, your table won't be ready for 5-10 minutes, people are like, well, I'm not just going to stand here. So it's like, oh, you're welcome to, hang out downstairs, get a drink going, get the evening kind of prepped and ready, and then we'll come get you when your table's ready. And and it's just really cool down there. So most people that walk down are like, whoa, this is awesome. So it's a plus.
You can't see it from when you're walking in.
Yeah, not at all. And it's got a little bit of a different vibe than the rest of the restaurant. So it's, to your point, just kind of a business addition to our business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about some of these, just restaurants in general, there's a high failure rate. It can be a tough business. What made you guys really were like, hey, I want to do this? We want to, instead of you can work for somebody, you can be at a great restaurant and influence, but what made you want to actually, okay, we're going to start our own restaurant?
Yeah, I think, I think I've said this before, but deep down, I think every chef at some point wants to own and operate their own restaurant. Number one, to your point, working under someone is great to learn, and, eventually you could move up and become the, what we call the CDC, the chef de cuisine, which generally means you're going to have some control over the menu and the like. Keyword some there, because it's still got to go through the executive chef, who might be the owner. So, having just that creative freedom is like a draw. But with the idea of the Pine specifically in Grand Rapids, it was just, at the time, the food scene here is just not very good. You know, it's pizza, burger, wings, pretty much everywhere. No one's really cooking anything from scratch. So, you know, I guess kind of the capitalist in me, I was like, there's an opportunity here. I feel like anyone who's going to open a restaurant and just cook real food, it doesn't even need to be fine dining, just a real from scratch restaurant, I was like, they'll probably be successful. So I kind of had made the joke that if, you know, at the time we were living in Minneapolis, if I came back for Christmas or Easter and someone said, oh, there's this great new restaurant, and you go in and it's busy and bustling, and I'm like, oh man, this should have been me. So we just kind of made the decision to, put that on ourselves, with the goal of being successful. You know, I think, like I said, the opportunity was just too great. It seemed to kind of fall into place and make sense, especially with COVID kind of changing our jobs in the cities. I don't know. The opportunity was just there. Lightning struck.
Yeah. Yeah. Touch a little bit about the timing too. When you guys made a change from the metro, and you mentioned it was around the COVID time, which was also a crazy time for restaurants.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Yeah, I was working at Prize Brewing down in the cities, and I was brewing, so a lot changed. Wearing masks and brewing was very hot. Cleaning tanks and the like, and he was working at Wiseacre. That kind of changed into more of a deli counter and shopping to go spot. And yeah, July of 2020, his mom called us and was like, the old Jenny & Co. building is for sale. Like, you guys should try to get in there. And that's when we started to have some more serious conversations on, are we ready to do the restaurant thing? And I think for both of us, it was like, yes, like we're ready. We're like at a slowing down spot in our jobs, and they changed quite a bit. And like I'd mentioned earlier, I was missing kind of the hospitality aspect of my job back then. And yeah, I guess we kind of checked out the building and kind of fell in love with the idea of being in a downtown area and just kind of adding to the experience in Grand Rapids, knowing that it needed something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think overall we've seen a lot of change for the good.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm from Grand Rapids originally, but my wife and I went out to Idaho for school for a handful of years. And like, you know, in the two small college towns near us, there were, I think, 6 breweries and all kinds of nice restaurants, mm-hmm. Peruvian and, mm-hmm. you know, like authentic Chinese places and like Japanese. It was crazy to have that experience. And then we came back to Grand Rapids. We're like, oh, granted, we came back and we like went out to eat, and you're like, this is so cheap. We can buy so much food. Yeah. We felt like we were super rich because out there it was really expensive to eat out.
Yeah.
But, you know, around that time too, we had Clock Cow opening up just mm-hmm. a few months later after we moved back, which was really refreshing. And then we've seen, you know, Rapids Brewing mm-hmm. opening up. And so there is a nice movement happening.
Yeah.
And I remember even as some of those places were opening up, and maybe you guys can speak to that too. There's almost a certain amount of like hostility to like, that's slightly more expensive, or it's different than we're used to, or like, this isn't light beer.
Yeah.
Like, you know, these little barriers that you have to get people over in some ways. So sometimes also educating customers like, oh, I can't read this. What is this?
Yeah.
How's that looked for you guys and what you're doing at the Pines?
Yeah. I think it's trying to pick which spot to start at. Because, yeah, obviously when we moved up and we're like, we're opening a fine dining restaurant, people are like, fine dining means expensive. That'll never work.
Yeah.
So there's kind of one facet where our pricing, I think, is actually very fair. You know, you could go out to a different restaurant in Grand Rapids and with 4 people, everybody has 2 drinks, everyone has a meal, and you know, you're going to be up to $120, $150, $200, depending on what you're doing. And
I went through a drive-through yesterday with my wife and I and 4 kids, and it was like fast food. It was like just under $60.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's a good reference for everybody.
Right.
None of it's cheap.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Food costs are definitely, you know, up everywhere. And so for us, you know, I try to price everything. I think it's a pretty good value, especially if you're sharing, which we generally encourage. A lot of our dishes are kind of designed to be shared and snacked on, and yeah, kind of creating the menu is definitely like, we want people to come in that have gone to nice restaurants before in metropolitan areas and say, oh yeah, this totally makes sense, and I've seen things like this many times before. And then we also wanted to design it for people who have never dined like that ever, to come in, and you can still say, kind of what you're used to. You can still get an appetizer and a main and a dessert, and you're out for a decent price. We definitely encourage people to get more plates of food because some of the portions are a little smaller. But all in all, you kind of said, small barriers, which I think that's the way we approach it. Is we have a lot of people that are either skeptical of the entire concept, or they come in like, all right, let's see what this place has got, kind of thing. And I would say we're extremely successful in, kind of blowing their minds, so to speak. Most people leave and they're like, wow, I had no idea I could experience something like that in Grand Rapids. And yeah, same thing with cost and the bill. Most people get it and they're like, yeah, geez, that's just what I paid at Sammy's 2 weeks ago. And again, that was, a family pizza and wings and cheese bread. Whereas we have, scallops and pork belly and a delicious cauliflower dish. So, it's apples and oranges, but at the end of the day, it's a restaurant. You go to get full, have a good time, and head home. And I think, we're right in line with most industry trends, especially in the metro area. I mean, I think we're actually quite a bit cheaper than many of those places and probably serve similar products. So, it's definitely something we're mindful of, but we've kind of said we built the Pines for anybody. So anyone who comes in, you're going to get the exact same treatment as anyone else. The menu options are diverse, where there's something for everyone, I think. We've had, many vegetarian diners, gluten-free diners, and then we get, kind of your old tough dude that wants to come in and have a steak and a whiskey, and they all leave happy. So that's our goal.
Yeah, I think on top of the food being really delicious, we really focused on our service aspect. So a lot of guests will say that too, that they didn't expect to have the experience to be like welcomed and made the menu feel approachable. And I think I think we both take a lot of pride in that. And when we moved to Grand Rapids, I didn't expect that to be a challenge at first. So I had first started working at Clocko, and I had quite a bit of background in the beer industry, so I knew a lot about it. And then kind of talking to guests coming into Clocko about like what we were planning on, there was a lot of hesitation, but I think something we were really good at doing is really like getting our roots into the community when we first moved up here, and just explaining to people and like what to expect, and like also just get to know us. Like, we're gonna make you feel good about coming into our restaurant. We're gonna make sure you know exactly what you're getting into, and you're not afraid of seeing crudo or something along the likes of being raw, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
Because like I said, there's kind of many parts of the Pines that are very common all over the country, all over the world. They're generally in metropolitan areas, but like you said, college towns too. Generally people like to have a nice meal, whether that's birthday, anniversary, whatever, or just a Thursday night. So, I've kind of said we didn't reinvent the wheel. We just kind of transplanted it into an area that it had never been before. So there's kind of that little bit of, someone's got to be the first, just like Clock Owl opening, to your point, people coming in like, well, I love beer, but what's all this stuff? I don't like dark beer. But they've been open 8 years now, and I bet you a lot of those people love going to Clock Owl and trying new things. So
and I know people who this is dumb. I'm not gonna. Who would ever drink this stuff? Now they actually go to these places and they're because usually you can find something you like, even at a place you don't like. You can usually find something you like,
right?
And working with people, and to what you were saying too with service is huge, because you can have great food. But if you feel like, hey, thanks for coming, why don't you get out of here because we got to free up this table, or like, are you done eating yet? Or like, hey, server, I haven't, I've been sitting here with an empty glass for 20 minutes. I was going to stay, now I'm going to leave. This, those sorts of, it's a lot of times small things that are missed is where there's lots of opportunity, especially for like drinks. Like if a server leaves, and this is huge for you guys, if a server leaves a drink empty, it lowers that customer customer ticket, but usually their experience too, because they might have a want for something, and that's what you're there to do, is provide that, need, if you will.
Yeah.
And I know Amanda, like, this was before we had ever met, but just interacting with you at Paco, and like we had been out, I don't know, it was a while before this instance, and we came back, and you remembered my wife's name and what she was drinking, and like,
She's very good at that. Very good.
It was kind of mind blowing, and even in context of that, like our house had just burned down, and we were living in a hotel, and so having those little instances, like, oh, we went there, we had a break from the kids, is nice. Like, oh, okay, it does elevate that experience, because we were just going to get away for an hour,
Right.
and you have that change, because again, it's not a huge change. The beer wasn't cheaper, it wasn't anything like that. It was just what we were planning to get, but elevated, and that makes a big difference for people.
Yeah, I mean, the kind of idiom in the industry is, people try restaurants for food, but they return to restaurants for service. So that's, I've kind of talked a lot about food side of things, kitchen, that whole side of the Pines. But to Amanda's credit, I think our service is really where we shine, and where people come in and they're like, okay, this is on a whole nother level. And that's the goal, My other little tidbit per your kind of drink thing is, we hate empty glasses at the Pines. So that's that's been trained into the service staff from day one, is, water glasses are full, and if someone's putting down a martini, let's see if they want another.
Well, and my wife, she worked at Applebee's, and I don't think they do as much of this training as they did, 15 years ago or 12 years ago, whatever. But like they even talked about glasses being designed, wider at the top and more narrow at the bottom, so you can offset drinks for people. Like if you're sitting, it looks like you have half a beer, but really it's like 2 sips left.
Yeah.
And it offsets from what your spouse or your friend is drinking, so you order another round.
Right.
And like there's key times to do that, and then it'll, you can say it's driving up the bill, but usually it makes you happier if you're there with your full drink, because that's what you're doing. I've found, wherever we go now, because we've got 4 kids, if we're getting we would never take, or we shouldn't say never, but like I wouldn't want to bring my kids to the Pines, because like it's too good.
They're welcome.
Oh, I know. I'm not gonna waste the nice evening out on those guys, but even being able to have that time, because it's a lot of logistics to get away from the kids.
Yeah, I'm sure
that's like probably half the cost is having a babysitter and
Yeah.
coordinating all that. So to go out to somewhere that has that elevated experience, again, is really, it's a level of care and thoughtfulness that goes into it.
Yeah, we've had a lot of children diners, I'll say, that really, really like being in our space and eating the food. So if you're watching, you got kids, they can come to the Pines.
Yeah, we just had a table the other day, a younger couple and a couple and a son that was in hockey, and the mom had asked to see a kids menu, and I was like, I'm so sorry, we don't have one, but a lot of kids like our steak, our chicken, pork belly, and the kid goes, Mom, I want steak.
It's easy. It looks complicated. It's a different way to describe it, but this is what it is.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of little like cool things for kids. Like we have all of our sodas are in glass bottles, so that feels like already elevated to have your Sprite poured over ice from a glass bottle.
That's nothing to discount from taking kids, but it's nice to get away from.
Yes, absolutely.
That's a great idea too. That's a great idea too.
So, for people who've never worked in a restaurant, would like to hear what's the daily rhythm look like, because it's not just when doors open, you're rolling in. You've got a lot of stuff going into that. What does that look like? Yeah,
so my general day-to-day is, getting there early, 9 or 10 in the morning. There's generally orders coming in. We get food, wine, alcohol delivered pretty much 6 days a week. So you're dealing with that, inventory monitoring, checking in your orders, making sure everything's good to go, and then I pretty much start cooking. Me and my sous chef are generally the first ones in. We have a pastry chef. She comes in, try to have her hours, in the morning, so she has a little bit more space in the kitchen to work with, can be coming in and out of ovens a lot. So yeah, it's generally, I handle most of the, I handle all of the protein butchery, and then most of the, kind of long form cooking stuff, stews, sauces, broths, stocks, all that stuff that needs to be started in the morning and finished by late afternoon. From there, kind of cook really hard and heavy till about 2. That's when my line cooks come in. So I normally try to get out of the kitchen to give them space to do all the stuff they have to do. The way the Pines is designed is each station, one cook works each station. They have what we call a station map, which lists all their dishes and all the different components and prep they need to have ready for service. So they basically do that from 2 to 4. We have family meal every day at 4 o'clock. Mm-hmm. So that's generally when the front of house staff comes in. They'll come in maybe a little bit before that to start, sweeping, mopping, setting tables. Our host comes in. That's where we're normally monitoring reservations for the night. If we have VIPs or if, there's an anniversary at 7 o'clock at table 22 and the gentleman brought in flowers and he wants those on the table when they sit down. Kind of cover those little details. Then we eat from 4 to 4:20, 4:30 or so. And then we do a pre-shift meeting every day at 4:45, which is the entire front of house staff, me and Amanda and the bartenders. And that's where we go over again, kind of those VIPs, anything special. A guest at 6:30 at table 23 has a shellfish allergy. Let's note that kind of stuff. And then we'll also roll out new menu items, give the servers a chance to try them so they can get educated, talk about them, sell them, all that stuff. And then, it's doors at 5. And, final seatings at 9:30. Dining room's open till 10 every day. The lounge is open till midnight on Fridays and Saturdays, so a little bit later nights those days. Mm-hmm. And then we start all over again the next day.
Yeah,
and on it goes.
Rinse and repeat. And how often are you guys open?
We're open Wednesday to Sunday currently. When we first opened at the end of June this summer, we had Monday dinner service as well, which we plan to add again once our kind of long dark winter is wrapping up. And it's dinner only, 5 to 10. We still have our eye on brunch to add at some point in the future. Just kind of waiting for staffing and life to allow us to add things. Mm-hmm. Like I said, every day is pretty busy just managing what we currently do. So we're kind of viewing an additional service as, A, great goal to achieve, but B, you kind of got to plan a lot before you just flip that switch. Because once you're doing brunch, that's every Sunday for the rest of our lives. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, and it's one of those things where you want to make sure you're doing what you're already doing it really well.
Yes.
Because it's easy to say, we should do this, and then do this, and then do this.
Yeah.
And then you're running around even crazier.
Right.
Get burned out.
It's definitely smart to be incremental. We still have projects in the restaurant that, as far as the architecture, design, build out stuff, as you get going and costs start spiraling, you're like, okay, this thing here, let's put that on the back burner. We'll come back to that. It's not an essential part of the operation. So we still have some of those little details too that we're still working towards.
Yeah. How about for the front of the house? What's that look like for you in between, serving and what you're working on?
As far as like daily operations or just...
or training, even bringing new people in. What are you coordinating?
Yeah, a lot. Also first-time business owner. So there's a lot of figuring out licensing, like we need to renew our alcohol liquor license starting for the new year. There's a lot of emails and just kind of responding to people, making sure I'm on top of making sure someone feels heard, I guess. As far as training, I got really, really lucky to have a really awesome front of house staff. Almost everyone that works there is very good at what they do or willing to learn more and eager to learn. So we just had our very first front of house meeting last week, and we sat down for 2 hours and we went through what exactly it looks like for steps of service. As Kyle had mentioned, like for pre-shift, I often have like a housekeeping thing to say to everyone, like make sure we're pre-setting our tables. So that's just an opportunity to like make sure we're all on the same page as far as training. And yeah, as Kyle mentioned too, a big thing that I do when I come in is I'm monitoring the reservations, making sure that the kitchen's not getting too many people coming in where they're going to get crushed. So just like making sure that everything's looking good, even though we're a big but small space, it's somewhat challenging to have bigger parties sometimes. So just making sure those are like, in a spot that works best for the kitchen. So I do a lot of that too. And then, yeah, we do daily deposits. So that's a big thing that I do, all the kind of money side of things. And
She handles most of the financial, bookkeeping, QuickBooks, spreadsheets, checks going out to vendors.
yeah.
Because, the food side, there's a lot to think about and plan for and the like I said, ordering and strategizing menu changes and all that stuff. But then the actual act of cooking actually takes quite a bit of time, If, like I said, if something's, we run beef stock about 4 or 5 times a week, because then the next day we reduce that down to demi-glace. That whole process is about 12, 13 hours. So, and you're skimming, you're monitoring, so there's a lot of juggling in my life where I'll get something going, get this thing, and I'm going to pop over here and put an order in real quick. And then I'm going to go back into the kitchen and finish a sauce or whatever it is. She gets a lot more office time than I do.
Yeah. And you both have behind the scenes, but during service, Kyle's expediting, kind of calling out tickets and everything. And for me, I'm just like, I'm here for whoever needs me.
Yeah.
And a lot
you
of
can
it
put out the fires, you can jump in.
yes, a
where
lot of
things
it
are-
is like there's something wrong with the POS, or there's not a button working, or it's printing to the wrong location. We can't find this, or this reservation like didn't come in right. Where can we seat these people these guests that come in? We have a table that's angry. Just need to do a little table touch and say hello. And a lot of just kind of going throughout all the levels. Problem solving. Yes.
Yeah.
Running food, running drink,
Yep.
shaking hands, kissing babies.
Yep.
Well, and that can be really stressful because things are going wrong, but it can redeem a lot of bad experiences or the bad situations. Like, oh, okay, we took care of that, and then that's the thing that they say, like, oh, they messed up this, oh, but they took care of it and it was really great, and that's what they're telling their friends.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, there was a minor hiccup, but they took care of it, and then they can even be a bigger advocate even after that. So it's a lot of opportunities to really grow in that area.
Yeah, we're fortunate we don't have very many negative guest experiences, but things happen in a restaurant and steaks get sent back, and or someone's gin martini wasn't the way they actually liked it, or this, that, and the other. And putting out those fires, Amanda's really great about just making those connections with people. And we've trained our staff in that as well, to have language ready to say, okay, hey, we're going to make this right for you, or what can we do? Hey, we bought you your last round, whatever it might be. And like I said, luckily they're pretty few and far between, but it's pretty important to do whatever you can to fix a situation. If you can. Some people are going to be mad and stay mad, but most of the time we work really hard to right our wrongs. And to your point, I think people see that and appreciate it. And especially we've only been open, coming up on 6 months. So those first 2 months, it was, it's the honeymoon.
A few more of those conversations happening.
A few more of them, and mostly because you're packed. You're the new kid on the block, and everybody wants to come in and try it out. And we were very, very busy, but I think we did a great job.
Yes.
So.
Yep.
You survived 6 months. That's pretty good.
Yes, we have. We've thrived for some of them. Yeah.
Yeah. A big thing too with people coming in for us is, especially if it's locals or people that have had cabins up here for many years, decades, are excited to see kind of the revitalization of downtown Grand Rapids, and have been in our building before, like when it was Nalt's or when it was other jewelry stores. And so it's fun to hear those stories, and people really want to share them. So
yeah.
And that's a good good thing you bring up too is people want to share their stories. But how are you making sure people know you're here, that you exist? Because there's Grand Rapids. Immediately, quite a few people have heard about it, but there are still people that don't. But then even, thinking of yourselves as maybe a destination, how are you communicating with other areas or other potential customers?
Yeah, and that's a thing that honestly, similar to you reaching out, most people have contacted us and said, "Hey, we heard about this thing going on in Grand Rapids. Like, tell us more," or the like. So, I did a brief little TV spot on WDIO out of Duluth. Obviously, the Herald Review, they wrote a piece about us, probably 6-7 months before we opened. So then when we actually did open, then they got to do another big piece, with pictures of the space and the like. We were fortunate enough, we got visited by a food writer from the Star Tribune. We had only been open about 3 weeks at that point. Her name's Joy Summers, and she absolutely loved it, which was great. We didn't, we knew she was coming, but we didn't, do anything special for her. We just, delivered our product, so to speak, who we are. And she loved it. So about a week and a half after she dined, she reached out and wanted to do a big piece for the Star Tribune. So that came out in October, first week of October. And we're lucky there that we literally had guests that say, yeah, we drove up from the cities because we saw your piece in the Star Tribune and wanted to check it out.
Oh.
So yeah, we're really fortunate that some of those things kind of happen to us more than seeking it out, which, we'll take pride in. I guess people wanted to hear about it because they heard it was great. So that's good. Feather in our cap. But yeah, going forward, we did a little bit of marketing around Riverfest through KXE. We've done, we're part of the Chamber of Commerce. Amanda did kind of a business pop-up last week and a half ago, which, to your point, is just kind of getting our name out there. Sit at a booth, and we had menus and some other display materials for people that say, oh yeah, I heard about this, but they actually got a chance to talk to Amanda and ask questions. So there's all that. And then of course in our modern American landscape, social media is the big one. So we're pretty active, Facebook,
Most
Instagram. Yeah, that's a good place to check in for specials, events, all that kind of stuff, which we do see a healthy amount of engagement on there. So.
Yeah, and I think a big thing for us too is collaboration. Like we brewed the beer with Andy and Tasha over at Clocko. So, they're talking about that in the tap room. We also are collaborate with North and Bloom. Maddie Cook and her team, they take care of all of our flowers, permanent flowers and rotating flowers on the table. Brindlewood Gardens, Bren and Will are amazing. They talked a lot about us during the summer at the farmers market. So a lot of it too is word of mouth based on all these connections that we've made. Even Prize Brewing that I worked at in Minneapolis, we get their beer from down there and bring it up here. They don't distribute. So I think there's just a lot of moving parts of oh, have you heard of this restaurant? And in between here in the metro area and even Duluth, Bemidji area too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've heard of what do they call them? A group A clients or customers. A lot of times that's a classification for those who are going to go out and tell all of their friends and all of their family, and having those strategic customers are really helpful too. And you don't always know who they're going to be.
Yeah.
But it's great to have those, and when you find them, to really take care of them too, because that's how you get a lot of the word out there. Because you can have people too who have great experiences and they just never say anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nothing against it.
Right.
It's oh yeah, no, it's the best meal I've ever had, and I'm going to tell no one.
Yeah.
So it's interesting having those people and seeing how that all shakes out too.
Yeah, and Amanda kind of touched on it. We moved up right at the end of 2020, and the Pines opened June of 2025. So those 5 years were really spent, you kind of mentioned it, but sort of embedding ourselves in the community. And we're pretty friendly people in the industry. So, there's all sorts of camaraderie and people you meet that, I was the chef at Rapids Brewing for 2.5 years. So there's a lot of people that saw me there, tasted my food there, and they're kind of like, oh yeah, that guy. And, then the word gets out, I hear they're opening a restaurant. So those kind of tendrils, people kind of got to know us and know what we're about before we opened. So then when we opened, then they come to okay, let's see if they did it. And like I said, I think the vast majority of the time we exceed expectations. So then they're like, they feel like they're on our team. You know, they want to support us. I know those guys. I know what they do. I had a great meal there. So when my friends come to town, we're definitely going there, you know.
Yep.
And we've seen a lot of that. Just people that we know who are friends with. And then they kind of snowball out and bring more and more people to our team, I guess you'd say.
Yeah. And it's interesting because we've had more restaurants and things opening up, you know, multiple breweries, that kind of thing. But in a lot of ways, there is a certain amount of competition. But also, I just think of how my mindset has shifted over the years. Like, oh, if I have people who are going to be up for a while, like we're going to make an intentional effort to go out because we have these places that we like to go to. Versus like, oh yeah, we're just going to cook at home.
Right.
Like there's a shift in that as the whole food scene, if you will, has improved. There can be multiple winners.
Yeah.
Which is nice because then you have also people who are just like ready to go and enjoy good food and good drinks and good time and good service. Yeah,
and we do all that, and kind of the one thing I think that keeps us, you know, a lot of people say, well, you're in a small town. There's only so many people that are going to go out all the time. We kind of, you know, mitigate that by changing our menu a lot. So we've had a lot of people that have come, you know, 6, 7, 8 times since we've opened. And they're like, oh, there's totally new stuff here. Or, oh, when did that dish that I like leave? Or like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And then I think that's really works to our benefit because, yeah, pretty much you can come, you know, even, I mean, it's crazy to say, but almost once a week there's going to be something new or changing. And then we also do what we call a welcome snack every single day. That changes every single day. So there's, you know, even if you've been 10 times, I bet you most people would say like, yeah, I had this one time, but the next time I tried this other new thing, and then I wanted to get this again, but they convinced me to get this instead. So it's very much a, you know, it's not a one-trick pony. You know, we kind of do a lot of different stuff.
And I can't have asparagus until next summer.
Gives you something to look forward to. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to come back for it.
Yep.
Oh, that's pretty cool. As you guys are looking ahead, you know, you mentioned brunch being one of the things that's coming up someday, maybe. What are some other things you're looking at building in the future?
Yeah, I mean, going into next summer, you know, we kind of designed a very cute, small little patio space in the front of the building. So we'll definitely have some outdoor seating, and kind of our long-term plan working with the city. There's an alley that runs right next to our building. The goal is to kind of have that close off at 5 o'clock for traffic and just be a foot traffic kind of space, in which case we'd be able to do some tables out there as well. So that's kind of, you know, maybe a 2 to 5 year plan. Then we'd have a big patio. But other than that, yeah, it's, I guess, kind of a secret. Some people know, but we have what we call the vault, the cellar down in our basement, which is an old bank vault, probably put in the 1920s. And that's where we house our wine. And so the goal there is to kind of, you know, design that space a little bit more, make it more elegant and cool. And then that would kind of function as sort of a tasting room. So if you're buying a nice bottle of wine, we'd escort you down there, bring you in there, pop the bottle, do a little tasting, talk about the wine, and then, bring it back to your table and get back to your meal. So yeah, some of those little corners of our space are, like I said, sort of secret, but eventually would love to, you know, share that with guests.
How do you guys see the overall kind of culinary maybe environment changing in northern Minnesota? Are you seeing a change overall? What's that looking like now, especially being maybe a big part of that?
Yeah, I think, you know, more the better. I mean, we're people in the industry, but I like to go out to eat when I get a random day off. So if anyone wants to open a Thai restaurant, let's do it. I'll help.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just more options. You know, kind of made the joke a couple of times, but wings, burgers, and pizza, we have plenty of that. So I think there's so much opportunity for different cuisines or different specialization. You know, obviously we kind of have our 5 and 10 year plans, and maybe we do another restaurant as well, which I'm not gonna, no spoilers. Let's just say we already have plans. But anyway, I think, yeah, just rising tide raises all ships. I think the more the better. I think people in Grand Rapids and the surrounding communities would love to, just have different things that they can do for different vibes and environments. Yeah. I think fast casual lunch is a thing that people would love to see, whether that's like a little deli or something. yeah, possibilities are endless. I think Grand Rapids and the northern part of the state is kind of on the crest of a wave of people deciding to move here. They want to be here. People around our age, maybe they're raising kids, maybe they work remotely, and yeah, they've been other places and they know that these type of restaurants exist, and they're like, well, why can't there be this here?
Right.
And yeah, I think we're here to say it could be here. Just got to kind of do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
And it might only take 5 to 8 years.
Yeah, it might only
That's
take
all.
5 years or so,
to come up
but
with a plan.
once you do it, it's great.
Yeah, and I will just say that since I've lived here, I feel like the culinary scene has changed so much. I mean, when Kyle kind of introduced Oyster Fest at Rapids Brewing, like they weren't sure how that was going to be.
It was an experiment.
And
let's see if they want this.
yeah, and people turned up for that. Like sold out many times in half hour, 45 minutes. Like, so yeah, I think that the food scene is changing. And we just started introducing Oyster Fridays at the Pines. Last Friday was our first one. So just doing probably 2 varieties every Friday and then pairing it with bubbles of some kind, and then just kind of doing an educational piece on that too, why oysters are in season right now in the winter. And yeah, so that was really fun.
Yeah, I think it's just another example. People just want
They-
more,
yeah,
more
they're
options,
ready
more
for
things
it.
that they've seen other places. And so yeah, it's kind of a bit of our job to provide that. Not to mention, it's a joy and a passion. I like watching someone eat their first oyster.
Oh,
Is
it's the
always
best.
fun.
It's the best.
I would imagine there's pretty good reactions, positive or negative even. It's at least
Bit of both, yeah.
entertaining if nothing else.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, new things. New things are good.
So when you guys get into some of these really kind of stressful times, which I'm sure there's some, especially as business owners and restaurants, what are some, I call this the toolbox takeaway section, but do you have a certain mindset or a practice, a quote or something you can go back to that really helps you get through that time? Obviously you have each other to kind of say, yeah, today sucked.
Yeah.
You can do better, but what's something that maybe each of you have that you'd share with our listeners?
Yeah, for me, especially in the beginning, my big word was pivot. Okay, that's not working. How can we make it work? That doesn't fit there. Where will it fit? A lot of that, even with staffing, like a lot of our high school students, first-time jobs, it's kind of scary to describe a dish to someone and use words that maybe you don't know, like Dijonnaise. So there's like some challenges with that. And for me to think pivot, okay, how can I make this approachable to my employee to understand and just like take a breath and it's okay.
Yeah.
We're going to take it slowly. So yeah, that's big one for me is pivot. And something new that I've been introducing to staff is take 10 seconds. And that's whether like just slow down, make sure you're understanding everything that a guest is saying to you or how you're talking in the kitchen or again, taking a breath for 10 seconds. So pivot in 10 seconds for me. What about you?
Yeah, boy, I don't know. I mean, I try to have some kind of peace time during the week. It's generally Thursday afternoons where I'm just kind of like brainstorming / letting the waves of everything you're thinking about kind of wash over you. I'll sit down with a notebook and really just try to organize my thoughts out. And that I feel like that really sets me up better for the weekend or for the coming week. And it's, sometimes it's just lists. Hey, do this, do this, do this. Sometimes it's, kind of creative thought where I'm problem solving a dish or, how to cross-utilize an ingredient, whatever it is. And then there's also times where, you just get out of the kitchen for a good 20 minutes and exhale. Again, like kind of the thoughts that are just coming, just lay them out in a more organized fashion, whether that's on paper or in your own mind. So then it's at least not so overwhelming. I normally get some sense of like, all right, cool. That's like a you know what I'm trying to say. Thank you. Getting tongue tied here. Get that out, figure it out, then I can observe it and like, cool, that's dealt with now. And then that part is exited my mental capacity and I can think about something else.
Almost.
Exactly. Yeah. You got to kind of remove it, view it, and then like, cool, I have that handled now, or I at least understand what all these thoughts that have been going crazy for 45 minutes are like detailed now. Cool.
Yeah.
And then you focus on something else. So I think that's really, really important, especially because, yeah, it's overwhelming. We've kind of said a few times, it never stops. There's always something happening. That's kind of one of my kitchen phrases. If it's not one thing, it's another. So you might have everything's great, your menu's crushing, your prep's good, and then the cooler breaks. Or all your equipment's working and everything's good, and then a cook calls in sick. Like there's always a challenge, and it generally changes every single day.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a good sense of like achievement when you do have that Friday or Saturday night where you're like, everything went great.
Service was
Wow.
smooth. Yes.
Is that rare? Yes.
Was it a dream?
Yeah.
Is this a dream?
So yeah, the more kind of planning and thinking you can do to get ahead of those times that's what I try to do anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like if all else fails, like tears by the dumpster.
Yeah, we have a cry corner.
We have a cry corner.
I've never used it, but you know, it's
But
there.
it's there just in case.
It's there if someone needs it. Yeah.
No, that's good. What I like what you were talking about there too, like writing it down.
Yeah.
One thing I just heard, I can't remember where, but taking the time to write down the problem and what it is, and then even in your brainstorming, trying to come up with the solution, you sit there and say, okay, what would a great chef do to solve this? And then you like embody. It's not saying you're not a great chef, but you're like, okay, I do this, and then you kind of elevate yourself to that position, and then you come up with a solution.
Yeah.
And so that's something I just was learning about, and that's pretty interesting because it kind of calls you up to a higher level and changes your frame of reference versus like, oh, it's happening to me. Okay, take a step back,
Right.
take a look at it, and now let's figure it out.
Yeah, and there's also kind of the creative side, which is, you know, I joke, I do it to myself all the time where I'm like looking at this thing and I'm like, okay, this is cool. Well, I don't want to do that. I want to like push myself to figure out a different thing or, you know, a new technique I've never done before or whatever. There's definitely times where I'm like, I could just put this thing out and it would be fine. But I like put it on myself to like, no, I have to make it for me, you know, that kind of artistic spirit, I guess, where it's like, I got to please myself first and then hopefully the guests like it. But there's many things we could do, you know, that would be kind of a throwaway, like, oh, this is easy, boom, boom, boom. But I don't know. I'm stubborn in that way where I'm like, no, it's got to be, you know, whether it's the Pines identity or the menu or whatever, it's kind of, I push myself to probably make it harder than it could be sometimes.
Well, I think that shows in your cooking too. And a lot of our servers say that Kyle's cooking and menu is like a journey. It takes you on a journey as you experience it. It kind of starts at one flavor and then it builds to the next. So I think you can take a lot of pride in that too.
Yeah, takes a lot of thought, I suppose.
Yeah.
Sunday or Thursday afternoon brainstorming sessions sometimes.
What am I gonna do?
Yeah, or why am I doing this? This is gonna be hard, but then you're like, because I want to. So
Worth it.
you push through it. Yeah.
All right, guys. So we've got a few just quick response questions here. Get some of your opinions and thoughts. The first one would be, is if northern Minnesota had a flavor, what would that be?
You know, selfishly, I'm going to say our wild rice risotto at the Pines would be that flavor. We make a really intense mushroom cream sauce, really great cooked down wild rice, which is also cooked in mushroom stock. It just has this really delicious, earthy, nutty, rich flavor. So that's something that'll probably always be on our menu. I think anyone in this area has grown up eating wild rice, and we just kind of take it to its zenith, make it as luxurious and decadent as possible.
You've perfected it.
I think so. We sell a lot of it. So
Yes.
yeah.
Cool. We got to try that.
Yeah.
What makes a great restaurant?
The people, the staff. For us, at least. I mean, I think that I don't know how staff came to us, but they were all the right people, and they helped us really build the foundation of what expectations are, and just being excited about food, excited to talk about it. And I think, for me at least, the staff.
Yeah, I'll say it's just a place that one wants to be in, you know,
Sure.
whether that could be a coffee shop, a bar, a restaurant, what have you. It's a space that you go to, you know, to eat some food, but also to have some drinks, but also to meet your friend that you haven't seen in a while, or celebrate an anniversary or whatever it is. You want to occupy that space. And, for us, we kind of push, making memories.
Yes.
You want to be able to be like, oh, I remember when I ate there with whoever and I had this and it was incredible. A lot of people have food stories like that. Oh, I was in Maine one time and the lobster I had at this one place was the best I've ever had, so.
Yeah. If I ever get back there.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's kind of the goal you want, is to be a memory for someone. And it might not even be about the food. It could be just like, oh, we had that great dinner there. The whole family was there. So-and-so spilled their water. We all, that's kind of the goal, is to function as a place for someone to create a memory in.
Yeah. Basically be a snapshot of that time,
right,
of that instance in their life.
Yeah.
What makes a great restaurant guest?
Oh, I could list like 30 things.
Why don't you start?
Being willing to try new things is the number one thing for me. We love people that are excited to try new things. I'll also take someone that's hesitant to try new things as long as they try it.
Okay.
So that's number one. I think, there's a bit of, patience and understanding. I think some of the best diners are people who maybe worked in a restaurant in their teens or 20s, who no longer do, but they're like, yep, I know what that means to hustle and grind.
They were just in the cry corner.
Yeah. They did one session in the cry corner and they're like, okay, I'm going to law school. So I think those two things help. I think people who are willing to, kind of meet a restaurant where it is. So we definitely, we do a menu tour, we call it, for people who have never been in before. And, if you're kind of like, hey, this is sort of the way this restaurant functions, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to buy into that, versus being like, no, I want this and I want a salad with it. And it's like, well, we don't really do that here.
Uh-huh.
They're probably going to be more like, oh, I didn't like that place. But if you're kind of like, oh, they don't do that here? Cool. Well, I'll do it the way you tell me to. You're generally going to be like, okay, that was awesome. So those three things. And, joy. I think, restaurants are a place to be happy. So ideally they're happy when they get there and even happier when they leave.
Yeah, I guess that allows you to make a connection, right? Like we have some people that come in that have like a preconceived, like, I'm not going to like this. And those are kind of my favorite people sometimes, because once they start trying the food and then they kind of let their guards down, talk with the server more, let them in, maybe the bartender comes over, whatever, and then all of a sudden their mood changes. And I love that, like, sense of connection.
Yeah.
They open up.
Yes. Yeah.
What dish best represents your philosophy about food?
Yeah, that's I got two answers, I guess. So we kind of have, what we call our signature dish at the Pines. It's a smoked and braised pork belly with a reduction of the braising liquid, wilted greens, which change seasonally, grown for us by Brindlewood Gardens. And there's pickled mustard seeds and a pickled chili on there. It's a relatively small portion, but it is incredibly flavorful, decadent, pretty aggressively seasoned. So it's kind of one of those bites where you're like, wow, that's like a lot of flavor, but in a good way. Pork belly is delicious and luscious, so kind of that balance of fat, salt, pleasure. Something we kind of pride ourselves on. I want people to say yum and say, well,
Yes.
wow, that's really delicious. And most of that comes from just technique cooking, and then, like I said, aggressive seasoning. That's something a lot of people, we have salt and pepper shakers, but if people start grinding salt on our food before tasting it, you're like, well, you might want to now don't say it's salty, because kind of you did that, So that's kind of our signature dish. But on top of that, I think, we have a section of the menu that just says for the table. And that's basically my sandbox to play in for rotating vegetable dishes. I really like kind of a composed vegetable dish, whether that's, we mentioned it a couple times, asparagus or carrot or beets or turnips. You kind of take a product like that, and then, my kind of style of cuisine, I like to incorporate, using that product in a variety of ways, highlighting it, showcasing it, pairing it with things that are going to work well, putting it in a different, cuisine, whether, this beet dish is kind of more Italian, and this kohlrabi thing is more Asian. Like, kind of having those opportunities to have ingredients lead to different cuisines is something I love. And yeah, that section rotates the most out of any of them. So that's definitely where our most seasonal stuff is.
Amanda, could you describe the Pines in 3 words?
Yes.
That one doesn't count.
That one doesn't count.
Compartmentalization.
Revitalization. Thoughtful, detailed, and welcoming.
Those are 3 good ones.
Yeah.
So now we're going to get into some pretty controversial stuff.
Okay.
This is really some big food debates, and
I love it.
Don't pull any punches on these.
I'm pretty opinionated, so I won't hold back.
How do we feel about pineapple on pizza?
Down. Pepperoni jalapeno pineapple is one of our go-tos.
Okay, good. I'm with you there. We're on the same page. Okay, this is good.
Works for me.
Starting strong. Well done steak.
No.
Don't do that.
Don't.
If you come to the Pines and order a steak well done, we will happily cook it for you. But the cooks might roll their eyes a little bit. So, we're here to have a good guest experience. If that's the way you eat it, we will happily do that. But don't. It's better, I promise.
Even if they're wrong.
Yes, even if they're wrong.
How about ketchup or A1 on steak?
No.
I'm not a big ketchup guy in any capacity. French fries on occasion, but mayonnaise preferred. No, ketchup you're just putting sugar on whatever you're putting it on. So that's a no. A1, I could see it. Flavor wise, there's a lot of things happening there, but we don't offer that at our restaurant.
Boneless wings aren't wings.
True.
Correct. Yeah, they are.
Those are
They're
chicken nuggets.
Okay, there we go. How do you guys feel about ranch dressing?
Love.
Okay, there we go.
Again, not available at the Pines restaurant, but definitely available in my fridge at 1 a.m. with a Jack's Pizza. 100%.
Okay, there. Okay, good. That's. I didn't want to bring that up because that's the way to go. I think in a lot of cases, but I wasn't sure if that would be like foodie approved.
Yeah.
That's good.
For any of the ranch lovers, our dressing on our house salad is a buttermilk dressing with lemon. So you're getting the notes of ranch, even though we make it. So
Soup isn't a meal.
It is a meal.
With bread, it is.
Okay. Oh, they're
Really?
Yeah, with bread.
That's the same. Asterisk.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
bread.
You need,
What about pho?
Oh, good point.
Here's an interesting one. Hot dogs or sandwiches?
I'm gonna go. Hot dogs are actually tacos because they're enveloped on the sides and open on the top, whereas a sandwich is closed on the top and bottom.
Never really thought about that.
There's a diagram. There's a diagram on the internet if you want to check it out. But
there's probably a T-shirt.
Yeah, it lays out all the different encasings of food and puts them in categories. So yeah, I'm going hot dog as a taco.
Hot dog as a taco. That'll work. And then, should burgers be smashed, thin, or thick and juicy?
Smashed.
Right between. Can't be smashed too thin.
Not too thin.
Can't be not smashed enough. There's a sweet spot.
There's a sweet spot.
Yes, and I'd say if it's a double patty, as it should be, then you can get away with being a little thinner. But if you're doing just a single patty, that smash burger, that's kind of almost like a kid's burger. So that should be pretty small.
Well, Kyle and Amanda, I really appreciate you guys dropping by and sharing your story, sharing about the Pines and the new experience that you're bringing to our community and the impact you're hopefully having on all of northern Minnesota. And we're really excited to see you guys doing well. Excited for what you have coming up, maybe brunch someday, some other fun projects and all these collaborations you're doing.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having us. And it was fun to talk about the Pines. We kind of exist in it 24/7. So it's fun to share a bit with you and your listeners and anyone who wants to come check us out. We're there 5 days a week. Make your reservations online.
You can try the flavor of northern Minnesota.
That's right. The wild rice risotto.
Yes.
Yeah. Pairs great with the pork belly too. So
there you go. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Take care.
Yeah, thank you so much.
This episode of Bridge Out Ahead is brought to you by Legacy Bridge Real Estate, brokered by Grand Properties. At Legacy Bridge, we believe real estate is one of the most powerful ways to build wealth. More importantly, to build your legacy. Whether you're buying your first home, selling a property, or looking to invest, our trusted team is here to walk with you every step of the way. Legacy Bridge Real Estate, where legacies begin. Today's theme music is We're Making Good Time by Jed LaPlante. Thanks for joining us today. And remember, no matter the detour you encounter, the road ahead is still yours to build. I'm Bridger Hopkins, and this is Bridge Out Ahead.